Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new library from Audio Riot called Bionic Plucks and Mallets. So this library requires the full version of Kontakt, 6.5.2 and above, and has an install size of around 1.5 gigabytes. It's currently on an intro price of £79, that's until April 14th, and then it will go up to the regular price of £99. So as the name suggests, this library is all based around plucked and mallet sounds, but it's been designed in a pretty creative way, and that allows you to blend between the transient and tail part of the sound. The library is contained all within this one patch, Bionic Plucks and Mallets, and it has its own internal preset and sound browser. So the preset browser is just here, and we've got 50 presets to get you started, and then some user banks as well. These four waveforms you see, A, B, C, and D, are what make up the patch, and you can also alter each one of these to a new sound source from the list inside. So we've got a pretty big range of different sounds available. Some are kind of acoustic, some are more electric, and you've got obviously a short and medium plucks. These go in the transient section, and then you have your tail sounds in here. All right, so let's dive into some sounds, and we can take a look at the UI as we go, but the UI is definitely worth exploring here, as to me it does really unlock what I think is sort of the real potential of the library, its ability to kind of blend these sound sources together and kind of get creative with it. So this is preset number 1, Suitcase Master. So as you might be able to hear, all these sounds are this combination of a kind of tight attack transition type sound, which are on these A and B layers, the transient, and then you have a tail layer, C and D. So they play together to kind of create this somewhere between a mallet, pad, and even kind of piano keyboard sort of like sound a lot of the times. These are kind of playable as plucks and as kind of tonal piano type stuff. But one of the main features of the UI here is that it allows you to blend between the transient and the tail sound. So we can kind of go from somewhere here in the middle all the way down to just the transient. So we're just hearing these kind of pluck sounds here. And then I can go all the way up. And we're just playing the tail sounds now. So I kind of think this is a really cool engine, you know, to kind of separating the sounds out, because then it allows you to either pick the sort of exact point that you want in terms of attack versus tail, or you could use this to kind of slowly move from one to the other during a bit of music. So this is definitely a control that you're going to spend a lot of time with, kind of playing with and finding a balance that you think is cool. You also have the option to favor either the A or B layer or the C or D layer with this control here. So I can kind of go, say I'm just on let's favor the transient sound a little bit more. So you can hear there I'm just blending between this A layer and the B layer. And I can do the same on the C and D side for the tail stuff. If I just go all the way to tail side, just so you can hear it a bit more. So yeah, even with this kind of central control and the blending options, we've got a huge kind of palette available already. But yeah, there's tons of sound, so let's try something else out. Just go on to the next one. One thing I have noticed kind of skipping through the library is that there's kind of fairly big volume difference between some of the patches, which is a little bit kind of annoying that you have to go in and bump some up and bump some down. So again, I'll just show you the control between transient and tail. So yeah, really cool. I'm just playing, you know, dead sort of simple stuff just so you can hear the differences between the patches as opposed to what I'm playing. Okay, so let's have a listen to another one. For some reason, a lot of these patches make me want to play kind of really minimal underscore sort of spy thriller stuff. You know, that kind of really minimal percussive kind of motory things that just happen in the background. And they're like this kind of loop of tension that just allows sort of action to unfold before you go into something more dramatic. So yeah, let's use this one to just show you the difference between some of the sound sources that you can swap out as you go. Because this has been a really kind of fun feature for me, just to sort of say, oh, there's like one thing in that layer that I'm not quite sure on, and I just want to swap out that one and get a different kind of vibe going. So let's just favor the transient a bit more, just so you can hear that without all the tail. And then as a player, you can just kind of go through some of the sound source options. So yeah, I mean, that's changing one layer out of 4, you know, so it's not a complete transformation of the sound, but it's giving you these kind of little changes in vibe. And obviously we could change more layers if we wanted to, kind of really transform the sound entirely. But I love that you can kind of just, yeah, alter these small kind of elements about it. So yeah, the layers are a ton of fun, and I'd say probably one of my favorite things about the library. All right, so let's move on, try a new one. We're only on number 4. I mean, I'm not obviously going to do all of them. It's just to give you an idea of some of the presets that are available. But this is definitely one of those libraries where you're going to want to dive in on your own and kind of find your own sounds. So yeah, really cool again. But as you'll notice, probably another, I'll try and normalize some of these afterwards, but there is definitely a kind of change in volume between a lot of the patches, which would be nice to have a bit more ironed out. So this is kind of a dulcimer type sound, I guess. Yeah, nice. You can tell it's a good library when every kind of patch makes you want to play something with it. So yeah, this one just 3 layers. Some of them go down to 2, most of them are 4. Steel drum kind of vibe. So yeah, with this one, I immediately want to play something kind of a bit more threatening. So yeah, you really can take everything away from the preset within a couple of clicks really and make it sound completely different. So you notice this one's got a few more kind of effects going on with it, and that we can kind of dive into on the effects page here. So this one's obviously got some saturation, some kind of drive going onto it. So yeah, another thing I like is that everything's been recorded kind of pretty clean. You can take off the majority of the effects on it kind of thing. So I could just take the saturation off there. I won't go through the effects page too much because it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, you've just got your modulation, chorus and flanger stuff. Got a compressor, you've got saturation, filter, low pass, high pass, band pass, little EQ section, and then some delay and verb as well. Just go back to the main page, let's try another one. Oops, let's get one there. So some really nice kind of more, you know, playable keyboard sounds, I'd kind of call them. Obviously this one's an organ, but just to kind of show you that you don't need to do kind of just plucks and mallet type stuff. You can do kind of more piano based kind of pieces as well. I'm not at all a pianist, obviously, so my playing is pretty awful, but hopefully it gives you an idea. That's cool there, because you can hear there's just that cane wood giving the kind of impact at the start. All the way up. Oh, sorry, I clipped a bit there. And there are actually really nice things that can help in a mix as well, you know, just adding that sharper attack and transient on top of the rest of the more mellow stuff. And so speaking of transients, we can actually go into this central options list, kind of even more control over the envelope and sort of transient of the sound. So you've got this crossover point, which allows you to basically choose the point at which it moves from transient to tail. So I'll just give you an idea of how that sounds. And that one. And you can also change the crossfade length between the transient and tail. So yeah, even more options for you. And on top of that, there's a shape control here, which is kind of just attack really. So we can go from full attack into kind of not quite a pad, but you know, obviously way softer on the transient. And then you've just got some filter options, your velocity mapping, vibrato effect, filters, but I think this time for the C and D side, and envelope. I've noticed with all the patches that the mod wheel isn't mapped to anything, which is kind of a real shame because, I don't know, obviously you can do it yourself, but it might have been nice if that was automatically mapped to the transient on tail or just to a, you know, a filter or something like that. So let's just have a listen to a few more. So even in two notes, you kind of get the vibe of this one straight away. I like that, so much kind of vibe straight away. The tail, let's have a listen to the... Yeah, that's great having control over that. I do really like that. Okay, let's do a couple more. great sound again. I won't go through any of these other UI options too much because they're pretty self-explanatory. You've got offset, so you can change the start time, and then octave, a couple of tuning options, and trims just under the volume. You've also got master volume in the middle here. I really wish there was a solo option for each layer, so you could just go, I'm not sure what everything's doing, I just want to have a quick listen to whatever this is and then solo it. Maybe that's something they could add for the future. Also, something else I really like about the UI is just this ability to flip between a full view with all the controls and a cleaned up one. In reviewing kind of a bunch of other libraries before, I've kind of asked for this feature on a few, so it's really nice to see something like that kind of implemented here. Yeah, that's cool. I really like that. Love that one. It's kind of really hard, I think, to make a sort of mallety glass sound that isn't just kind of harsh and sort of pokes out of your mix in the wrong way. So it's kind of a really nice one. Lovely stuff. Okay, so this might be like a Nils Fram reference, maybe. I love that one. I think that's great. I can see me using that quite a lot. And that's the sort of transient of it. So again, if you had that in a mix and you were kind of like, oh man, I really like this sound, but I'm just not hearing the attack and the transient of it, you can kind of get that, but it's not just increasing the attack of the main sound, it's adding in another layer that's kind of giving you that definition. It's another cool one. I mean, we're up to like 17 and just everything's usable. Well, like more than usable. Again, there's another one that's kind of a lot louder than everything else. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think we've probably gone through, you know, a fair amount of the patches to give you an idea of the library and stuff. And don't get me wrong, the presets are great and stuff, but I do think the best thing about this library is going to be creating your own stuff. Something as well that I didn't mention on the UI is that they got this randomize thing for all the transients. So this basically just picks a sound source at random. So if I just add one for here and here. So let's just flick through. Now the tail. Yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of libraries have a randomized feature for certain stuff, but in a library like this, I think it's definitely, you know, really useful to be able to flick through those sound sources and just try stuff out. Again, just a kind of almost complete transformation from the tail to the transient sound. So yeah, overall, I really love this library, man. I think it's you know, it's kind of a toolkit library because it is plucks and mallets, so it kind of, you know, it's almost designed for a specific purpose. But I think it's really got a lot of scope to be used beyond, you know, just saying, oh, I need a pluck or mallet sound. Let's bring this library up, sort of thing. I really like all the sound sources. It sounds like everything's been recorded kind of really clean, you know, not sort of too many effects layered on. Because a big thing I have with some libraries is that they kind of put out presets and patches that sound amazing on their own, but they're very hard to kind of fit into a mix because they're sort of so full featured. You know, they'll be full frequency, they'll take up tons of stereo width. And yeah, this just kind of feels like it's been really sort of made to fit into what you're writing. I think one of the big tests for a library when you sort of first sit down and play it is, does it make you want to play stuff? Does it make you want to write something with it? And I think that would definitely be a yes for this. Pretty much every patch has kind of given me a little, like an idea for a cue. So that's always a good sign. There are a few things that, you know, I've kind of mentioned that would be nice to include in the UI, like a solo button, just so you can audition the layers as you're going through them. And it'd also be really nice to have the mod wheel mapped to something by default, either this transient tail switch control, or maybe it's just a filter. The other thing I have noticed a little bit is that some of the CPU usage seems quite high. Just going back to like preset 1. I'm up above 30% here, and I'm on a 12-core Ryzen CPU, and, you know, kind of anything up above the 20 or 30. If you're starting to use multiple patches, you might get a little bit sort of worried about, especially if you're on like a laptop or something, but obviously this is definitely going to be a situational thing. All right, guys, so that wraps it up from me. I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough and review of the library. I've also just passed the 1,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube, so thanks to everyone that's subscribed and has been watching so far. It's really great to me how many of you have been, you know, watching and getting involved in the comments and stuff, because it's always tricky, especially when you're starting out and you don't know what to buy and stuff like that in regards to libraries, and a lot of them can't be returned. So hopefully this is kind of a helpful way for you to check out a library before, you know, spending your money on it. So thanks again. Any questions, just let me know in the comments. But if not, I'll see you again on the next one.